Hey y'all, it's Tag Tuesday and I have a tag video for you. April is Library Awareness Month, Library something month, and this tag was created specifically around the different aspects of a library. So stay tuned for my Tag Tuesday Library 411 tag. Hey y'all, it's Jen and welcome to my channel, Ifers Inklings. If you are new here, welcome to my channel. This is a Tag Tuesday video and I will be doing the Library 411 tag. This was originally created in collaboration by This Unicorn Reads and Joshana C. I'm sorry if I mispronounced that. I will link both of their channels down below with links to this original tag. And as I mentioned in my intro, this was created in response to April being Library Awareness Month, Library something month. This tag does have 13 questions. I have obviously watched a couple of videos on it, but I have not prepared my answers, so we'll see what we get. Also, I'm going to be reading from my notebook here where I have them listed. So if I'm looking down, that's what I'm doing. So question number 1, The Information Desk. And this is a book that was helpful to you in any way, for any reason. I feel like this answer is kind of, if you've watched any of my videos, you know what book I'm going to reference here. But it is the book that's been the most helpful to me in the last couple of years, and that is Juniper Lemon's Happiness Index by Julie Israel. I can't talk. I don't have a copy of it, so I will link the picture over here. I need to pick up a copy of that book, but it deals a lot with sibling grief and tragedy and how one sibling deals with all of the varied emotions that come along with her sister's death. And it really helped me work through some of those emotions myself. Question number 2 is the return bin. What are 2 books that you read and immediately wanted to return because you disliked it, or a recent DNF? So in March, I did DNF 2 books. One was As I Lay Dying by William Faulkner. I got about halfway through that book and I just couldn't stand it. I don't see the point in it. I didn't care about any of the characters. I really didn't care. And I didn't want to continue it, and so I didn't. The other book was Nowhere But Here by Katie McGreary, and this was a book that I was recommended because it was a YA contemporary romance, and I was kind of looking for suggestions along the lines of Casey West because I've finished all of her books that she has published currently, and that was kind of what I was in the mood for and what I was craving. This one, I got probably a couple chapters into it and I just didn't like it. I didn't like the characters. I could kind of see where it was going and I just wasn't feeling it, and so I DNF'd it. Question number 3, the hold section. Your most anticipated release, which you can't wait to get your hands on. I'm sure that this is going to be a lot of people's answers in this community right now because it is April, and next week the book Leah and the Offbeat by Becky Albertalli comes out. That is one of my most anticipated books of the year, specifically of the month right now. I can't wait for it to come out. I hope to get my hands on a copy of it as quickly as possible. Question number 4 is the community classes and study rooms. A book you loved that was a school assignment. So it's been a really long time since I have been in school and had to read books for school assignments. But one of my favorite ones that we read while I was in school back in the 90s was The Scarlet Letter. I can't remember who the author of that was. My English teachers are going to really hurt me. They're going to be sorely disappointed in me. But I really enjoyed that story. I had a great teacher in high school. Actually, all three of my English teachers in 10th, 11th, and 12th grade were phenomenal. And she really helped us dive into that story and teach us what it actually meant and things that were pulled out the context of this text for us. And I really ended up enjoying A Scarlet Letter a lot more than what I thought I would. Number 5 is The Computers. A modern classic you love or a favorite sci-fi. I don't know what you would consider a modern classic. So I'm going to go with a sci-fi series that is one of my favorites. And that is the Illuminae Files. Illuminae is the first book. Gemini is the second book. And Obsidio is the final in the trilogy. It just recently came out. I have not read this one yet, but it is by Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff, and I absolutely loved these first 2 books. They get a lot of hype, and I didn't think I would like them. They are mixed media, which is another little weird quirk about them, but you can see they are, this is like text message exchanged or an instant message, and then you have things like this, and then like this one is a briefing from a file. And I just have loved this series more than I expected to. Question number 6 is the DVD rentals. Your most anticipated or favorite in recent history book to movie or book to TV adaptation, or a book that felt cinematic, or a book you wish would be adapted into a movie or TV series. Oh, that was a long one. Okay, so Ready Player One is the most recent book to movie adaptation that I've seen, and I really loved it. I really enjoyed the book, and I really enjoyed the movie. They are different, and I know a lot of people have been really upset by this because there was such hype with the book. Ready Player One is such a phenomenal, nostalgic book, especially for those of us that grew up through the 80s, that there was such high hopes that this movie could be done very well or very poorly. And I think that even though there was a lot of changes that they had to make in it to be able to make the film, I think that they did a really good job, and it stuck with the feel of the book. Even if it wasn't an exact translation of book to movie, I really enjoyed the way it was done. Question number 7 is the library, sale, or store. A random book you picked up without knowing anything about it and really enjoyed, or show off your bookish merch. So 90% of the books I pick up are random purchases that I don't know anything about. But specifically, Maggie Stiefvater's Wolves of Mercy Falls series. This is the companion 4th book novel center here, with my custom dust jacket that is also autographed because I am trash for Maggie Stiefvater. But this series is one that I was just looking for an audiobook to listen to while I was at work. Oh gosh, probably 5 to 7 years ago at this point. And the first book of this series was available, and so I grabbed it and listened to it, and I fell in love with this series. Specifically, Cole St. Clair, which this is his book. Sinner is his book. So I just really enjoyed all the characters in it, and like I said, I knew nothing about it. I borrowed it from my library and fell in love, and that was my first introduction to Maggie Stiefvater. And again, as I said, I am trash for her. I read every single thing she writes at this point, and I have loved everything she has written. Question number 8 is the teen/youth room. This is your favorite YA or favorite book you read as a kid, or a book you can't wait to share with your future kids, nieces, or nephews. I'm just going to point back here to my Harry Potter shelf. I read these books with my kids. They are grown now, and I am fixing to start reading these books with my niece, who is 9 and a half. I did not start reading these books until I was an adult. I had kids of my own. My youngest was 5 when we started reading the first book together. And this series has made such an impact on our lives, probably that mother-daughter connection, more so than the actual quality of the books, although I think the books are phenomenal. I think there's a lot of lessons you can pull out of it to help teach young children things about the world and world around you, a world around them. And so Harry Potter by J.K. Rowling has just ultimately been one of my favorite books that I want to share and enjoy with my kids and my nieces and my nephews. I don't have any nephews. Question number 9, museum tickets. A book that made you feel a bit more cultured upon completing it. I don't really have a book for that. I can't think of anything for that one, so I'm going to skip it. Question number 10, Overdrive/Hoopla, an audiobook you love. I listen to a lot of audiobooks, probably 75 to 80 books that I read out of the 100 plus books a year that I read are audiobooks. So asking me to pick a favorite audiobook is extremely difficult because I read so many. So I'm just going to change this and tell you what my favorite audiobook narrator is. Bonnie Turpin is phenomenal, and if you can listen to any audiobook that she has narrated, you won't be disappointed. She is my favorite narrator ever. I have listened to probably 15 books that she has narrated, and I end up loving them all. The current one that I'm listening to, which is no fault of hers, I am not quite enjoying it as much yet, and that is The Children of Blood and Bones. She does narrate that one, but she also is the narrator for the books Allegedly by Tiffany Jackson, The Hate You Give by, the fuck is her name? Angie Thomas. She narrates both of Nicola Yoon's books. There's a lot of books. She also narrates the Downside Ghost series, which is a adult urban fantasy series. And that's actually where I was first introduced to her at. But there are lots and lots of books that she narrates, and I love every single one of them that I've listened to has been more enjoyable because of her. Question number 11 is, request a purchase, a lesser known book that you want more people to know about and read. And this is actually going to be a series. This is the Viral series by Kathy Reichs and Brandon Reichs. This is a book that is, they're YA, and it's kind of a sci-fi fantasy series. This is the compilation for short story collection, and this is the book Code, and it's not the first one. It looks like maybe this is the 3rd book in the series. This is another one that I picked up randomly. It's a YA series. It is kind of a little mystery. There's a little bit of a love interest, but it does not play a heavy part in this. As far as the first few books, there is that kind of crush type scenario going on, but it's some outcast friends who live on one of the barrier islands off of Charleston, and their parents work at the research center on another one of the barrier islands, and they get infected with the parvovirus that is actually a mutated version, and they take on some qualities of wolves. And then people try to kill them, and they have to solve some mysteries. But it is so enjoyable. It's one of my favorite series evers. That's a word. Ever. And I don't hear anybody talking about this series, and I don't know why, because it's phenomenal, and everyone should read it. So let me know what you think about it, because I know you're going to read it because I said you should. Question number 12 is librarians. A character who loved helping others. So I'm going to reach back to my Maggie Stiefvater favorites, and that is Gansey from the Raven Cycle books. This is the Raven King, the last book in the series. I do have the first book. This is the UK edition of the Raven Boys in paperback. But Gansey is always trying to help everybody. He, obviously he's trying to help himself, but everybody else in the series that he touches, there is something that he does to try and help them, even if his help isn't very well received. And that is one of the characteristics that I really love about Gansey. He knows enough when to back off and not to push it, but he offers to help in any way he can. The last one in this is question number 13, and that is Sanctuary. A book that is your safety net / is like home to you / helped you through a rough time. And I know this is a cliche answer, and I know everybody is probably going to say this answer, but it's Harry Potter. Harry Potter feels like home. It takes me back to a simpler time in my life when my kids were smaller and life just seemed a little bit easier, which is ironic seeing how I was a single mom of 2 young kids. But Harry Potter's just home. I can read those books and I can watch those movies and it never gets old, and I always feel like I am coming home. And I guess that's just what Hogwarts does to you, right? So that's it for my Library 411 tag. Everybody that I would have normally tagged has already been tagged in this video by Stephanie at This Unicorn Reads. So I don't know who to tag. If you're watching this and you have not been tagged yet, then I tag you. You're it. Otherwise, that is it. If you enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up. Be sure and hit subscribe button if you're not already subscribed, and also check out all my social media. The links are in the down box below. Until next time, bye.